update on these rain chances the rest of the week for you in just about 10 minutes.
Thanks, Charlie. Tomorrow, President Joe Biden will be in Columbia, South Carolina. He's expected to speak at Flex Ltd. in West Columbia, which is a manufacturing facility. The president will talk about the nation's economy as part of this week's long tour on Bidenomics. South Carolina will be an important state for Biden, who's running for re-election. The Palmetto State will be the home of the Democratic Party's first primary next year. Authorities need your help locating 2 missing people in the CSRA. Richmond County deputies are looking for 21-year-old Elizabeth Lee, who was last seen Saturday night in Monroe. Deputies say she was possibly being driven back to Augusta and dropped off on Cougar Drive. Across the river in Aiken County, deputies are searching for 39-year-old John Belote. His family tells deputies he was last seen June 28th around the Windsor and Graniteville area. He was last seen wearing a black t-shirt. If you know anything about either of these missing persons cases, call authorities. Or are you hesitant to donate blood? What about if you got free Botox for donating? That's exactly what's happening with Shepherd Community Blood Center, who teamed up with Southern Dermatology to get more people through the door. Today's blood donation gave each donor more than $100 worth of Botox, all for free. All new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock. Our Taylor Martin will have more on this drive and how bad the need for blood is right here in the CSRA. A new South Carolina law will help the families of first responders who make the ultimate sacrifice for their communities. Our State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
This new law applies to first responders killed in the line of duty, including law enforcement, firefighters, emergency medical service personnel, and coroners. Under it, the beneficiaries of first responders killed in the line of duty will receive $75,000, so long as their death wasn't the result of their own willful negligence, suicide, or intentionally self-inflicted bodily injury. That amount is increased to $150,000 if their death was an accident that resulted from responding to an emergency or an unlawful and intentional act of someone else. Before, their loved ones might have been eligible to receive the equivalent of their annual earnable compensation if they received anything. This new law also applies to volunteers.
Especially in a lot of our smaller rural counties, we depend on volunteers, and if they lose their lives in the way of duty, their lives are no less precious than anybody else's.
Like most pieces of legislation in South Carolina, this bill would have gone into effect the date the governor signed it, which would have been in late June. But lawmakers actually went back and changed the effective date in this bill so that the family of James Muller was included. Muller was the Irmo firefighter who was killed while responding to an apartment complex fire in May. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
This legislation had only applied to law enforcement officers initially, but state senators expanded it to first responders in general, saying many of their loved ones weren't eligible to receive anything if they were killed in the line of duty. Hopefully you got to enjoy some fireworks in honor of the 4th of July holiday, but unfortunately, our furry friends don't appreciate them the same way that we do. Our local animal shelters are already packed, but now shelters are also dealing with pets who ran away from all of that noise. All new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, our Emma Ellis spoke with one shelter about the problem and what you should do if your pet is missing. Aiken County Public Schools announcing 5 new principals that will be starting this school year. Dr. Renee Bryan Evans is now the principal at Chucker Creek Elementary School. Jacqueline Osteen is the new principal at Millbrook Elementary School. Kippy Kelly is now principal at J.D. Lever Elementary School. Dee Dee Scott is now the new principal at Hammond Hill Elementary School. And Latanya Evans is the new principal at Lavelle Campbell Middle School. And good luck to all of those new principals. Aiken County's first day of school for its new year-round schedule begins on the 25th. Well, as Nike Peach Jam continues to heat up, the hallways inside the Riverview Park Activity Center are getting busy. You can hardly even move in there. Our News 12 sports director Dan Booth joins us live from Peach Jam with the latest. Dan.
Will the lines keep getting longer and longer to get into some of these gyms? And that might have something to do with the fact that the main tournament starts tomorrow, and there's an increased number of NBA stars, college scouts, and college coaches who have all made their way to North Augusta. One of the NBA stars who's made a little bit of a commotion today is the one and only LeBron James, who at 6 o'clock will be coaching his team Strive for Greatness, the team his youngest son Bryce currently plays for, who is 16 years years old. But make no mistake, Braun and Bryce aren't the only two big names in attendance today. 9-year-old and Augusta native Zeke Wozniak, who you might remember for his passion for trick shots and crazy handles this year. Zeke has been coming to Peach Jam since he was 7 years old, and every year he walks through these doors, his passion for the game grows.
It's just really fun. I get to hang out with my mom, do all this, watch the game, learn a lot from the games that I watch, and play my own games.
If he keeps balling like this, maybe someday he'll get to play in Peach Jam. Now, looking forward to tomorrow night. Zeke and his family are going to Wild Adventure in Valdosta to spend time with the Harlem Globetrotters, who he says inspired him to work on his trick shots and fancy moves. Now, when it comes to today's games, Grotown's Darion Reed and Team Thad are fighting for their lives to stay in this thing to move on to tomorrow after starting the first 2 days 0-2. I'll have the latest and those highlights later on tonight at 11. And I'll also have the highlights for LeBron James's team Strive for Greatness with Bryce. I can't wait to see what he's like out on the court, if he's anything like his father or his older brother who's going to USC next year. So, reporting from Peach Jam, Dan Booth on your side.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. We look forward to that later on this evening. Well, a new feature on millions of smartphones now responsible for saving several lives. We'll hear from one woman who says that this new service is why she's still around today. That's coming up next. Riley.
And we are tracking a good bit of shower and thunderstorm activity across the region this afternoon. Let you know how long it lasts and the rest of the week's outlook just after the break.
Coming up all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, one pet owner shares how the 4th of July fireworks caused her pet to go missing.
Time and temp.
Charlie, a new smartphone technology could help save lives, especially for
Early into the day. Next week, we'll stay in the 90s for highs and better chance for storms again on Monday.
Thanks, Riley. A new smartphone technology could help save lives, especially for those who love to venture off the grid. Aaron McLaughlin has more on how it became a lifeline for one hiker in trouble after she was injured with no cell service.
Juana Reyes never expected her weekend hike through a remote Los Angeles canyon to end like this. A rescue mission made possible thanks to new cell phone technology.
The dirt just gave way. I tried to find my footing, but it wasn't stable. I landed on the ground using a sort of contorted way.
On a trail like this one, Reyes didn't have cell service, but she did have an iPhone 14, which boasts a new feature, Emergency SOS. Found in settings, it allows a user to dial 911 via satellite. Lucky for Reyes, her hiking buddy knew how to use the new feature and successfully called for help.
It was literally the only way that we got communication out for EMS to come and help us.
The third satellite call LA County Search and Rescue says they've received this month.
The notification goes immediately to the nearest 911 call center.
Last month, 10 teenage hikers used the tech after getting lost on a Southern California trail. And in Colorado, 2 hikers were rescued after using a similar technology from Garmin. Certain Android phones will soon offer satellite communication, which Reyes says she'll no longer hike without.
And you never expected something like this to happen?
Absolutely not. Never in my wildest dreams.
And certainly amazing tech, and amazing to see so early in its infancy how many lives that it saved. If you hike yourself, it might be smart to get familiar with this feature. Well, should you put your phone on a charge when you go to bed? Well, if you've ever asked yourself that question, we've got an answer for you. Coming up, how you can keep your battery lasting longer.
First Alert Radar. Rely on Ramjet.
Is your phone battery not lasting as long as it used to? Well, there may be a very good reason for that, and it could have something to do with how you charge it. Our consumer tech reporter, Jamie Tucker, found putting a phone on a charger while you sleep can put your phone to sleep earlier in the day.
Putting the phone on charge while you sleep is convenient. You wake up, the phone is fully charged. But does it affect the battery having it on charge for 8 hours or so? Yes, it does, and here's why.
Most batteries' lifespan are counted in charging cycles. The iPhone has about 500 cycles before you start noticing a difference. But Apple counts charges not by the number of times you put it on charge, but the number of times it totals a full charge. It's basically true for other phones because they all use the same battery technology. If it's on charge at night, the phone stops charging at 100%. But watch this. When it hits 100%, it drops back to 99% and then charges to 100 again. That's called a battery trickle, and it'll do this throughout the night. Over time, those 1% drops will total a full charge. Newer iPhones have a feature where it learns when you go to sleep and adjusts how it charges. Look at the graph on my phone. It charged to 80% about an hour after I put it on charge at bedtime. Then between 4 and 5 a.m. just before I wake up, it finished the charge to 100%. You should check to make sure it's turned on in the battery settings. Now, Android phones don't have this particular feature, but they do have battery optimization, which closes programs you're not using.
So what's the best way to charge a phone? Well, charge it before you go to bed to about 80-85%, then put it on battery saver mode, and then set it on the nightstand. Don't plug it in. The next morning when you wake up, plug it in, let it charge to 100%. But I'll say this, if you upgrade a phone typically every 1 to 2 years, charge it however you want, you probably won't notice a big difference. That's What the Tech. I'm Jamie Tucker.
And batteries can be replaced in some smartphones, including iPhones. The charge is typically between $50 and $100. Riley?
Well, we are tracking rain this afternoon and into the week.
Well, live at 5, we're taking a live look here at Myrtle Beach, courtesy of EarthCam. But for many of us, the day after 4th of July holiday is back to the usual grind. But for some in Myrtle Beach, today was a massive cleanup effort. Volunteers taking the time today to clean up litter from the beaches, which were packed with holiday travelers. Police there also taking part, explaining that this is a community effort to ensure that the beach stays clean. And it wasn't just locals here. Many tourists and travelers also took part in the cleanup. The most common type of litter seen, according to the organizers, cigarette butts there. It looked like a beautiful day out there yesterday, but today, different picture, Riley.
Yeah, pretty stormy along the coast this afternoon. Luckily, they were able to get those volunteer efforts in early this morning before the rain did arrive, but definitely a lot of trash after all those fireworks last night. I noticed that even at Warren Park.
Well, live at 5, we're taking a live look here at Myrtle Beach, courtesy of EarthCam. But for many of us, the day after 4th of July holiday is back to the usual grind. But for some in Myrtle Beach, today was a massive cleanup effort. Volunteers taking the time today to clean up litter from the beaches, which were packed with holiday travelers. Police there also taking part, explaining that this is a community effort to ensure that the beach stays clean. And it wasn't just locals here. Many tourists and travelers also took part in the cleanup. The most common type of litter seen, according to the organizers, cigarette butts there. It looked like a beautiful day out there yesterday, but today, different picture, Riley.
Yeah, pretty stormy along the coast this afternoon. Luckily, they were able to get those volunteer efforts in early this morning before the rain did arrive, but definitely a lot of trash after all those fireworks last night. I noticed that even at Warren Park, their park out there early this morning. Here's a live view from our downtown Augusta cam towards the Augusta Canal. You can see a few raindrops on the lens here, dark skies in the background. We've had rain continuous here around the Augusta Metro over the last hour. We're going to continue to see it at least for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So if you do have plans here around the Augusta area, Grovetown all the way to Aiken down I-20. We are still looking at some pretty decent rain across the area. Luckily, it looks like the severe weather window is really waning and going down, so I wouldn't imagine we have any severe thunderstorm warnings the rest of tonight, but just with this heavy rain can produce some flooding in a few spots. And actually just got a message from Ray Douglas between Clearwater and Belvedere. He's already reported over an inch of rainfall in his rain gauge there, so this rain is definitely producing some pretty high rain totals. If you see the rain, it's helped cool you off, so you can see our temperatures in the 70s right now up towards the lake. Edgefield's at 79, Thompson's at 75, Augusta right now at 73. Our southern counties haven't quite seen the rain just yet, so still in the 90s for Louisville, Swainsboro, and Millen. Any plans this evening? If you're south of Augusta, those rain chances look pretty high for you through at least around 10, 11 o'clock tonight. For us here in the Augusta metro area, I would say we have rain chances through close to sunset, and then past 10 o'clock, we do start to dry out. For our Thursday, looking better, staying hot and humid, and then more storms Friday through the weekend.
Some much needed relief for us from that hot weather. Thanks for that, Riley. It's all the time we have. Stick with us, though. We have much more news, weather, and sports coming up after a short break on News 12 at 6 o'clock.